Let's have a talk now about the Pandora Papers. 12 million documents leaked from 14 different sources. 600 journalists in 117 countries have been working on them for months after they were supplied them by the International Consortium of Investigative Journalists based in Washington, D.C., looking at hidden wealth, tax avoidance, and indeed some money laundering of many of the richest people in the world, including 330 politicians from 90 different countries, using secret offshore companies to hide their wealth. Well, Robert Palmer joins me now. He's the Director of Tax Justice UK. Good morning to you, Robert.
Good morning.
We've had the Panama Papers previously. We've got the Pandora Papers now. It's a massive haul of documents. What does it actually tell us other than very rich people have an awful lot of money in lots of different accounts around the world? Is there any surprise here? Is there anything newsworthy here?
I mean, in some ways, it's not new. As you say, we've had previous leaks that have exposed the system. I mean, I think why this matters is it shows if you're really rich, if you're really wealthy, there's like a whole different set of rules that you can use. And you can use those to hide your money from the tax man. You can use those to reduce your tax bills. I mean, some of these cases are more extreme. There's a story this morning of someone connected as a donor to the Conservative Party involved in a really unpleasant deal. And so I think this is about how if you're really rich, if you're really powerful, some of the rules that apply to the rest of us don't apply to you. And this matters when we're thinking and making decisions about how we're raising money in this country. The government has just promised to raise taxes on almost all working people. And yet at the same time, you have rich and powerful people out there who are able to slash their tax bills.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, and we've learnt that, haven't we, previously, where of course, when we talk about trust funds or inheritance tax and the like, the rich don't have to pay a lot of the tax that ordinary people have to pay because they are able to hide their wealth elsewhere, and they're able to put it into trust because they don't actually have to sort of live off the money they earn day to day as everyone else does. But what this exposes is people avoiding tax, which is legal, as opposed to people evading tax, and there are some implications involving some of the people mentioned in this. But is this something that we should be criticising the wealthy for, the individuals for? They're following the tax advice of their accountants, their lawyers, or is this something that is a problem with the governments that allow this to happen? If you have complicated tax systems, if you allow the loopholes that allow the very rich to do this with their money and avoid paying tax on everything they earn the way everyone else does, is this actually a point where we should be criticising governments around the world as opposed to the individuals who take advantage of legal loopholes?
I mean, Julia, you're exactly right. Ultimately, these stories aren't about the individual cases or the individual decisions that people make. These leaks are about a system that has been designed and implemented by politicians and could be fixed and changed by politicians. I mean, I have some hope. We've seen since the financial crisis, over the last 10 years, when some of these stories first coming out, politicians have started to take some action. For example, tax authorities around the world now have much more information on people's offshore accounts. So we can make some progress. I think that's really important. This is not just something that we should throw our hands up and give up.
Yeah.
These leaks show that this is still happening. This is still a problem. There's still one rule for the rich and powerful and another rule for the rest of us. And so even if some of this behavior is legal, I think it certainly makes me angry that, I don't have access to these types of ways of reducing my tax bill.
You would if you were rich enough.
Yeah, if I was rich enough, but when everyone is being asked to contribute more, to help support the NHS, to help support the social care system, it feels really unfair that politicians are still allowing wealthy people routes and loopholes to reduce their tax bills. And there's another.
Well, indeed, simple... I mean, it's not just the politicians aren't just allowing the other wealthy people. This involves an awful lot of politicians as well, 330 politicians, and of course it includes the likes of Vladimir Putin, believed to be the richest person in the world because of his, basic plundering of the wealth of Russia.
Well, exactly. There are, as you say, loads of politicians caught up in this scheme, and lots of this money ends up being funneled through places like London or tax havens connected to London. And so I think we do have a responsibility here as
Yeah.
the UK to stand up. And I think it's important to say we have made some progress. We have seen governments introduce new measures, so it can be done.
Yeah.
But obviously, there's more to happen, and we need to make sure this happens. Basic things like investing properly in HMRC, so the tax authorities can go after these rich people, is really important.
Yeah. Really good to talk to you. Thank you so much. That's Robert Palmer, Director of Tax Justice UK.